All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, Thunderbirds are go.
Dun, 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 dun. Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, I mean, you won't have seen it. Just as Jake hit record, I did the countdown in the old-fashioned 5,
He did.
4.
He did.
And I really wanted to just start it with Thunderbirds are go. But I thought, let me at least say Crossing Swords. But as always, I'm Andrew, guys.
And I'm impressed by the level of the heights that you've taken these introductions to.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
You're
You're trying something different.
I do. I actually occasionally, it sounds really like self-indulgent. I'll be sat chilling and I'll be like, what's a way I could like mix it up at the beginning?
Live it up.
Because the intro's been the intro for the,
Since
2 years we've been doing this now?
Start.
So like, it must be more than 2 years because we were pre-pandemic.
I think it's 4.
Fuck.
I think it's 4. I mean, we're like, what, 5 or 6 series in?
I don't know. We're on like episode 40 of this series. Like this series,
The thing
just
is,
gone,
the way we do
another...
it, the way we do it is we just, when we take a break,
we go.
that's kind of when we stop. But this, we've been pretty good this series. We've been like, go, go, go.
I don't think we've ever had a break long enough in this
No,
series
there's been like
to justify...
a week, 2 weeks. But before,
it was like 2 or 3 months.
2 or 3 months, yeah.
So that made more sense.
Yeah.
But like, I've you know, things are popping, bro.
Pop, 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 pop.
On the socials, we're hot.
Pop, pop. We are hot. And that's thanks to you, because do you know what? For the first week, I didn't do them.
No.
And for the first week, we've had raging success.
Yeah, but do you know what? It was completely by accident. And what happened was, Jake, the only thing, like, it's not a big thing. Jake was just like, can you do the TikToks and upload everything? And
I was away in an area with really bad signal.
And I've never used
As
TikTok,
I'm often away.
So I just uploaded and I accidentally hit story rather than video. And then...
You're welcome, new viewers.
Couldn't cancel it. So I just went, oh, fuck it, there's going to be one on the story then. And then I uploaded it again as a normal video. And the story
did really well. Hello, TikTok.
And then on top of that, we got over 1,000 views for our clip video on Twitter. And that is down to one thing and one thing only. Kevin Smith is officially a legend.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I know we spent the last third of the episode absolutely
just saying how much we love
figuratively and metaphorically sucking the man's dick.
Yeah.
But I would do it again.
My only regret in that situation was the clip video that I tagged him
didn't actually feature him
at all. It was
but
about
we could do it
Palace.
Again. We could do it again.
Just do a bit of us waxing.
Just do a bit of us waxing lyrical, praising. You know.
Well, maybe
like
I'll just
do a metaphorically
clip of us,
sucking his dick
of us just thanking him for liking the video and that we appreciate his love and
now,
support.
The question is, do we do it authentically, or sort of a la Holly on This Morning? You know. First of all, Kevin, thank you for being part of the family here. You got to get the word family in if you're being fake. You got to get the word family like 4 times
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got to kind of be like, or we could do it really awkward,
almost condescending though.
100%
in tone.
100%.
Like an undertone of "you're scum."
Like you're not even trying to convince yourself that this is true.
I don't know if that's right for Kevin Smith though, because I don't feel that way about
But
him.
I do feel weirdly like he's part of a. Do you know what I think? I feel like he's part of our family, and I'm going to go off on one here.
Please do. The floor's yours.
It's because he kind of made a name for himself being a little bit of not an outcast, but in the way that he was like, I don't know the proper way to do things.
No.
So I'm just going to do the things my way. You know, I want to make a film. You know, I know, you know, he did save up and go to film school and stuff, but it's like, I don't know the proper way. I have not gone through the proper channels. So I'm going to make a film my way.
Yeah.
And then he just continued doing that through his career, doing things his way. And I feel like we're the 21st century equivalent of that. We were like, well, we don't really know how to do a podcast. We don't have the proper channels, so we're going to do it our way.
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone else has their niches and they specialise on the podcasts. And we were like, well, we don't want to specialise. We kind of want to do a bit of everything. Well, sometimes we want to do a bit of sports, sometimes we want to do a bit of film, sometimes we want to do a bit of topical, a bit of political. So we've kind of done it our way. And I very much feel like in that sort of outcast, renegade way, we're all part of the same Kevin Smith family.
Agreed. And I think that should be followed up by a... And that applause is shared with Kevin Smith as well. An applause of gratitude.
Yeah, I assume he would applaud also.
No, but I'm saying like we're applauding.
Oh, we're applauding
Kevin
him
Smith.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm biased. I kind of feel like most things I say should be followed by applause, but
I can believe that. Yeah. How often do you like look? My youngest nephew, his name's Harry, bless him, and not Harry, bless him. That's not his full name. His name's Harry. That'd be a weird middle name, wouldn't it?
Very sketch show.
But like, we've got him into this thing of like, we're so impressed when he does something, we like clap and
it
cheer.
feels patronising.
No. So now when he does something,
he expects applause.
He starts looking around and like clapping, like, come on, guys.
Do you know what? One day he's going to make a great husband.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the husband
He'll do
model.
the washing up and be like, cheer me, I am God. And I lasted more than, 5 minutes, so heal me.
Babe. I mean, I feel like, I don't know if I've said it on the pod before, but the Jeff Norcott bit, when he talks about doing like any kind of work and stuff, and he's like, I do, or he says, I do, without knowing it, I do buy into the misogyny thing. He's like, because I do turn to my wife to be like, babe, look, I did this for you, kind of thing. And, one day she responded and was like, what do you want, like a fucking star or something? And he was like, do you know what?
I do.
Yes, I actually do. Yeah, I would quite like.
Yeah.
He said, I think all men would quite like a star system.
Look, we're very
based
basic,
on their chores.
needy creatures that need our ego.
Praise,
stroked.
sex, and food.
Yeah.
Ego stroked, stomach stroked, other things stroked.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the holy trinity.
We just want to be stroked inside and out.
The holy trinity of dating a man.
Yeah. No, look, mate, he's preaching to the converted.
Converted? What were you before?
Well, that's another story.
What were you stroking?
It's rude to ask, actually. You shouldn't presume things.
Yeah, 2023, baby.
Yeah.
And yet...
The story you were just saying, though, about Jeff Norcott's bit, it made me think about, have you ever seen the video? There's like an Aussie comedian group, and this guy's called the police round to his house.
Yeah, the laundry thing.
Yeah, and he's like, my wife's disappeared, and I think this table's behind it. And the policeman's like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, it started off with really small things, like I'd leave my plate from dinner on the coffee table, and I'd leave the room, and when I came back, the plate was not only gone, but washed up and put away in the kitchen. And so I started testing it and giving it more complex problems, dumping as much as I could on the table, and just every day I'd leave the room, and like magic, it would all be cleared away. And I'd even put laundry. And he said, I'm worried my wife might have fallen over, landed on the coffee table and disappeared.
And the male officer is like, I think it might be a haunting. Or something.
Oh, no, I think the female police officer, are you crazy? And the male police officer turns to her and goes, no, I think I've got the exact same one at home.
No, it's brilliant.
So, yeah. But like, none of this intro that I have loved, by the way, is anything to do about
we had to get some kind of Kevin Smith love in. He gave us love. We had to love him
and
back.
it's just been an awesome mate. And I discovered how to do a short. So like, we're on the up, bro.
Well, you're on the up.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on the down.
Always.
All right, mate.
I've had to carry you from the start, so let's just keep that gravy train going.
You're right. And much like from the start, you know, we don't shy away from talking about it.
No. We air our dirty
It's
laundry.
not behind the scenes stuff.
No.
It's very much front of house.
Yeah, well, that's the British way. It's passive-aggressive, diggy comments, and we never discuss it.
No, you just let it go.
Yeah.
But you don't let it go. But you let it go.
No, you just wait till the next time and you bring it up
And
again.
then you bring it up again all over again. Living the dream.
It's the way our people have lived since time immemorial.
That should be the immigration, like the settled status test.
What, how you behave in
They should
awkward circumstances.
They should wrong you in some way in the waiting room
and see how you
and
react.
wait to see if you make some sly dig, passive aggressive dig,
or a complaint to a
that's
manager.
the thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're just like happy, cheery, ready go lucky, they're like, we think you're probably better suited
Or
for
if you
Australia.
just accept it and take it as well. If you accept it and take it, you're definitely
but not
British.
not happily.
Yeah.
Very begrudgingly.
Yeah.
With a gripe.
I'm going to go away and seriously think about writing a letter to someone superior to you. I'm not saying I will, but right now I'm angry enough that I could.
And at that point they say, welcome to the club, baby. Here's your passport.
Here's your benefits. Here's your mansion.
Here's your mansion.
Yeah. And that's at the job centre that they just walked to from the beach.
Yeah, it does happen.
It does.
I don't know why they keep putting these job centres on the beachfront.
You know, you'd think they'd learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I suppose there's not much room in town.
I have noticed whenever I go to Brighton, I always find it odd that on the end of the pier is a job centre next to the arcade.
I suppose there's not much room for it elsewhere, but with all the mansions.
Yeah, I mean, there's
They've
a lot
got to
of
put
those.
it somewhere.
And they've started putting them on the water as well. They're like floaty mansions.
Yeah, little floaty. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Little barges.
Yeah.
It's a good jumping in point, though, I think.
Is it?
Well, because I ask you, who perpetuates the idea that immigrants are walking off the beach into the job centre and getting mansions.
The Prime Minister?
Well, yes, at the moment, actually, quite a lot of people.
Oh, so it's not Rishi... Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary?
No, she just wants them to die.
Oh, wow.
Some
might say it's her dream and
have you
her
seen
obsession.
this thing, by the way, the Robert Jenrick thing, wanting to paint over the murals in the Children's Immigration Centre?
How scummy a human being have you got to be?
How little humanity and care
imagine,
and empathy
and I'm laughing because I just find it horrific,
sympathy.
And that's sort of my reaction to these things.
Yeah, laugh or cry.
Yeah, and if you cry about these things, you'll be crying constantly because it's not like a rarity that the Conservatives are scummy. But the idea of being able to walk around that facility, see the desperation, the kids in basically abject poverty that are
been taken from their families aren't with their families, yeah,
and go, those little fuckers don't deserve cartoon characters on the walls.
Yeah, they've got it. Looking around at these kids who have risked their lives, lost parents, left parents, and think these kids have got it too good. Yeah,
he saw those photos and were like, they're taking our pictures. Working class kids in our country can't afford to have cartoon characters on their walls.
Yeah, right.
So these fuckers can't. Yeah,
it's grim.
It really is.
But that's not again.
It's
not what we're here to talk about.
And that's something I want to talk about within this discussion. We're going to talk about what everyone's been talking about the last week, which was
these circulating pictures. Oh no, the other thing. the other
ones.
thing. No,
that's an ongoing thing most weeks for you, so it's not really newsworthy, and everyone's definitely not talking about it.
Some people are talking about it.
Some people are talking about it, only that they're fed up of seeing pictures
of
genitals on the internet.
I've got at least 3 alternative accounts that are talking about it.
Yeah, because do
you have an alt account?
No, only our
only the podcast.
The podcast page. But no, I have thought about it. But to be honest with you, I used to argue with people online just as I am because I'm just named myself on Twitter. I'm not one of those weirdos that's like
unicorn.
I've had
monkey.
my nickname in the middle of my name, but I'm just Andrew Scott. I don't hide who I am. And to be honest with you,
well, careful, bro. You could dox yourself.
I don't want to lie. What is doxing?
Revealing personal data online about someone else.
Like literally my Twitter page that I advertise
like giving away
with the podcast is my name.
It was the whole thing. Do you remember the whole J.K. Rowling accusing people of doxing her by giving away her address online?
Right.
But it was like, well, you can't dox someone whose house is part of a organised tour.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was kind of the
You've
defense
already
of it.
given that information.
Your address is already out there.
Or it's available for a small fee.
Someone's already got it. Yeah, it's available for a very small private rental fee.
Yeah. No.
But that's doxing, giving away someone's work details or
my name
address.
Is attached to everything to do with the podcast, so I'm not worried about people knowing.
It's mine?
Yeah.
Oh man, my accountant is going to have a field day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to know about this.
Yeah.
I've been presumed dead for the last 3 years, tax reasons.
But yeah, so Hugh Edwards.
Let's
take it right back to the start. So before we knew who it actually involved, what did you think when it all started?
I thought I did. This is going to make me sound like someone who's like talking with hindsight and lefty hippie snowflake bastard.
Yeah,
I get that. But I thought, here we go, another hit piece by The Sun.
Okay.
I thought they've got the details, and especially because it's I was talking briefly with my dad about this, and whilst we do disagree on some things, there is a lot of crossover. And one of the things
I think we're going to have a similar discussion. To be fair, I don't think we're going to.
I think one of the things we do agree with is that the one organisation that the papers, the Daily Mail and the Sun, and back when it was around the News of the World and whatever, the one organisation that they like going after more than any is the BBC, because the BBC is their great enemy in the media forefront. They almost have a monopoly on the British press.
And also,
but
if I
not quite
interject for a moment, Rupert Murdoch, it's been well documented, told Boris Johnson to get rid of the BBC.
Yes.
So it's not a stretch to say that these organisations, mostly owned by the same people, would
there's about 4 people that own pretty much all the press.
BBC gone.
So any opportunity to attack it is like great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as soon as it came up, BBC presenter's been involved in, an alleged scandal.
Yeah.
And it was like, here we go. I didn't.
Can I interject for a moment?
Sure. What did you think?
Well, in terms of like the BBC side of things, the BBC's reputation is in tatters.
Yeah.
So they're an easy target, sadly, and they haven't covered themselves in glory. And I don't think necessarily their reaction to this situation.
Boris didn't destroy them, but he certainly left them wounded.
Yeah, but I think their own behaviour over the years. I'm not necessarily talking about recently, but like historically, they're associated very much with Jimmy Savile, Rolf Harris, and other people like that. So that's more what I mean in terms of their reputations in tatters. I think general population.
We won't get hired.
What, by them?
Yeah.
Well, no, of course we won't.
BBC Sounds have not picked us up.
No, they haven't. I don't know if I'd want to be...
Is BBC Sounds worth asking for?
No,
we've asked a lot of people.
I'd want to be on Spotify.
You'd want to be on Spotify? I don't want to be on Spotify.
No,
they have too many ads.
No, but
Fuck
they're the
Spotify.
only platform currently offering audio and video. So...
How much money do you think they'll offer us?
Probably
6 figures, 7 figures.
Well, actually, they've had a rough time of things. They are scaling back on that front because they made big bets on podcasts and not all of them have worked out.
Nah, fuck 'em, we'll go BBC then.
I don't know if I want to work for the BBC.
You will, and you'll like it.
It would all depend on the offer.
I forgot what you were talking. You were saying what you thought about when the story broke.
Well, so with the BBC, I just think their reputation's an easy target at the moment anyway. In terms of the whole thing, my instant reaction to it was, oh, fuck, another paedophile or abuser in our higher echelons. And then when I heard the names, and I'm not really going to name any of the people being linked, so I don't think that's fair, but some of them I'm a fan of, and I was like, my main thing was like, oh fuck, I hope it's none of them. Do you know what I mean? And
do you know what's quite funny?
Yeah.
Is, and I don't think I'll be, given the mind that the BBC does employ people across the spectrum, I would say traditionally on the news side you get quite a lot of right-wing people, and on the entertainment side you get a lot of left-wing people. But all the people that were being named, that I saw being named as it's them, were all very much left-wing critics of the government and the press.
Yeah.
They've all spoken out, particularly two of them.
Yeah.
Again, we won't name them, but particularly two of them have very recently, in the last year or two, spoken out actively against the press and the practices of the press.
Yeah.
And the targets of the press.
Yeah.
So it's very little surprise to see that they were the ones.
This whole situation for me is really difficult because it's really murky. We don't know, and that's the one thing I want to preface this with at the beginning. The details at the moment aren't really clear. Like, I've heard stories where it was girls involved and ones where it was blokes involved. So I don't actually know. And I was listening to Joe's Politics talk about it, and they were saying it's still unclear whether it was...
What it looks like, and as you said, you're absolutely right to preface this whole episode by saying none of it's confirmed.
Yeah.
Apart from a couple of details.
Yeah.
What it looks like is that Hugh Edwards was subscribed to a young male's OnlyFans page.
So it was OnlyFans.
This is what it looks like.
Okay.
Like you said, it's not confirmed, but a young male's OnlyFans page. The young male...
That makes a bit more sense.
...found out who he was.
Okay.
And sort of said, like, if, I might out you.
Potentially
kind of thing. Sort of. I mean, I don't know the extent of it. It might have been in a...
It would make sense with the level of money being
The response to that was Hugh Edwards apparently said some pretty untoward things toward this chap.
Threatening them.
Sort of, yeah, quite aggressive and stuff, but they've been threatened in that situation. They're in a corner swinging kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of other reported incidents of other people, but the kid was...
some workplace
this young person, I've said kid. But basically the parents allegedly found out.
Yeah.
Apparently the dad went to the police. The police very quickly said, no crime's taken place.
No.
Nothing illegal is going on here. And the police, and then when the papers got the story, and we don't know how they got the story, but it very much suggests that mum and dad thought there was a payday in it. Okay, we're not going to go to court, but we'll get some money out of it.
Yeah.
which it sounds like the young chap was already getting money out of it,
Yeah.
but just a different value. The papers contacted the lawyer, or contacted the young person who had lawyered up.
Okay.
The lawyer responded.
I've heard an expensive lawyer. I don't know if that's true.
Oh, some of these OnlyFans people have got money to burn, haven't they?
Yeah.
But this young person's lawyer said there is no story. A lot of what they said this is the story we've got, and this is what we're going to run. The lawyer said, again, this is all alleged, but the lawyer then said that story is filled with inaccuracies, and also there's no scandal because, not that there's no scandal. They said nothing illegal took place.
Yeah.
Which we know, which if all true, we know because the police already had looked into it.
Yeah.
Not that they have the best reputation.
Well,
but
that's it. That is an argument that's out there at the moment. But I tend to just think, in lieu of anything else, the police is what we rely upon other than the court system to decide the rights and wrongs of things.
They said nothing illegal has happened, and your story is rife with inaccuracies. Now, and the press ran it anyway, but what they did was they didn't name the person involved, and I think the reason they didn't was because they knew legally they'd be in for such a hefty defamation because they knew that what they were printing wasn't true, and they knew that if it went to court, it would be so easily proven that they had defamed someone.
Yeah.
That they tried to get out of it by saying someone, Jim Rob, we don't know who, at the BBC, has been involved in this,
and
that, and the other.
And let a frenzy ensue afterwards.
And then there was a lot of speculation, like you said, a lot of names have been thrown around about who it was.
People actually had to come out and publicly deny it.
Jeremy Vine, I thought, went down a particularly stupid rabbit hole.
Okay.
He was saying he went on his show and said that the person should name themselves to stop everyone else, to stop the speculation about, it might be us, it might be us. And part of me thought at the time, oh, it's you, and you're going, well, it can't be. It's whoever did it, stand up now, knowing full well that it's you. That meme of Tim Robinson or whatever his name is, when he's dressed up as the hot dog, and he's like, we're all looking for the guy who did this, okay? Part of me felt like it was a bit of that at the time.
Okay.
But he went on his show and he said, I think they should name themselves. And it's like, or maybe, Jeremy, we could go after the publication that ran a false story, a knowingly false story.
The main issue with the
and
story
has persecuted
itself was the accusation of criminal offence and also implying that the person was a paedophile, dealing with young children.
And again, also, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but given what we think to be true, it could all turn out to be false, in which case I'll be standing there looking like a plum. But again, to me, reeks of homophobia. I
don't really get where the homophobia comes into it, though.
Well, because it's allegedly between a man and another man.
Yeah, but do you not think...
But we've said before, how many male figures have either hit on or had relations with or sent inappropriate messages to younger women?
Yeah.
And very little comes of it. It's not this media circus that it's become.
Well, I would disagree slightly. Not to the same level, but like when Leonardo DiCaprio got a new girlfriend, I can't even remember how old she was. Was she like 19 or something?
Yeah.
That was the story for the week. Everyone was talking about it. And that does affect his reputation, I think. But also, this story allegedly accuses threatening behaviour, inappropriate behaviour in the workplace as well. It's a bit more sinister than just sexual images being swapped between two consenting adults.
Yeah, but I think...
I personally think if that happened with a 17-year-old woman, people would have the exact same opinion they have of it being a man.
I think they'd have the same opinion, but I don't think they'd have it as strongly.
Some people, I think, maybe, but I don't know if that's the leading force behind
the press,
the narrative.
When I say some people, I think the press would not be as bothered by it.
I don't know.
The press in this country, to me, are very homophobic. They are smart enough to know that that's not a good view to have, but they are smart enough to know that if they sneak it in discreetly enough without coming out and saying, like I think they did. I think they ran a story during the 80s, The Sun, where they were like offering to fly gay people to Norway and like
Random.
a one-way ticket of like, you know,
So they could all just
why don't
leave
you all
the
leave the country? Yeah. But that's unfounded. That's just, I don't know how true that is.
Yeah.
But for me, you know, they will run stories, and you'll see it in the same way.
Look, the Sun's a rag. I'm not going to sit here and try and. The last thing I'm trying to do is defend the Sun. I think Liverpool rightly don't sell it. Do you know what I mean?
I think you look at the wording of the stories and the stance of the stories. Like, for me, it's exactly the same way as I can remember doing like GCSE media studies and having my eyes completely open. And you won't. Not many people say that about a GCSE media studies course. When you looked at...
I mean, my eyes were open to how shit filming a music video was.
When you looked at articles featuring very similar instances, but with a white perpetrator and a black perpetrator, and in the white article, it was all the man, the accused, whatever. In the black one, it was like the thug, the thing, you know.
Well, the example of that is how people like Raheem Sterling have been treated in the media in comparison to white counterparts. It's night
it's
and
precisely
day.
that, and for me, it's the same thing with it's the same thing with the kind of homophobia, queerphobia. You look at, I would say, probably most famously in the last couple of years, has been Sam Smith. Has been a big target. Yeah, obviously ticking two boxes, being non-binary and
disagreeing on the wrong thing. I wouldn't necessarily disagree that there's homophobia within the media and that's what their driving force is. But I think like the frenzy from the public, I wouldn't have said that was homophobic.
I think, and this might sound dismissive of the public, I think the frenzy from the public is we were interested in it as long as you keep showing it to us.
Maybe. I also tend to think that there's an issue in this country that it seems to be incredibly rife, that if you're male in an influence of power or have money or influence, that I don't know what the percentage is, but it seems to be more and more reoccurring that you're abusing people in a vulnerable position, whether it's children.
I think that's
women.
Because generally speaking, and we've said it before, the kind of people that want power are the kind of people that should be nowhere near power.
Yeah, but I think the result of that is, and we talked about this sort of slightly off air, that lack of trust in the upper echelons, the people in power, or even these institutions, whether they're the BBC, the Sun or whoever, when these things come out, we instantly believe them. So instantly we believed whoever this person was.
Yeah, public perception is guilty until proven innocent.
And
but the Sun knew that.
Yeah.
They knew that even though there was no story, if we print it, that will be enough.
But I think it was, personally, I would have argued it was from the public's point of view, it was the paedophile side of things that would have driven most of it.
Because they knew what they were doing. The Sun knew. Yeah. They knew that because of the history of the BBC, with the likes of Ralph Hamilton, obviously famously Jimmy Savile, they knew if they hinted at wrongdoing with young people in the BBC, everyone's mind would immediately go BBC? There. Right now, I wouldn't say I trust them a lot, but I would say that out of all the media institutions around...
Do you think they're a good example of a state-owned media act? Do you think they're fulfilling their purpose? Do you know, just overall?
I would say that right now, they're the most trusted. I do trust them more than the other outlets, but they're not. I
don't know if that's high praise.
There's a long way to go. I think they've been taken apart bit by bit over the last few years.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but I don't think those are the issues. No, I don't. I don't trust them to be impartial. I don't trust them to look out for the national interest, because they wouldn't have behaved as they have. And look, I think it then becomes an argument of, is that the BBC as an organisation or the people that have infested it? It's most likely to be the people that have infested it.
But also I thought as well, when they were talking about, you briefly talked about how the BBC handled it and whatever, but as far as I'm concerned, nothing had happened. The police had got involved and said nothing. I don't know. The police, once the story broke, the police got re-involved.
I think there's an argument to be made that if someone comes with that sort of accusation about someone very high up in your organisation that is probably arguably their most public face, he was the
news coverage for all the biggest stories of the last few years. Yeah.
You take that seriously. I don't think you wait 7 weeks to have a conversation with the man. You don't only make 2 attempts.
But how do we know they didn't take it seriously and had already ran an investigation?
I think the fact it took 7 weeks to discuss it with them means they didn't take it seriously.
Well, I think the fact that the police took a day or 24 hours to decide nothing illegal had happened. How do we know the police didn't? How do we know the BBC didn't do a thing? Yeah, I agree. I would
if someone
handle it differently.
if you found out someone at you where you work that's someone that works
once I'd
underneath
concluded
you,
nothing had happened, I would just want to make sure they're all right.
yeah, but so you'd have a conversation with them.
No,
about
like I said, I would handle it. I'm not disagreeing that they didn't handle it as best they could.
And then I don't think, from what I've heard, Tim Davies has covered himself in glory. He's just sort of shrugged his shoulders and.
Well, he wants the BBC to fall. We sort of know that. He was put in place by Boris to make sure that it does fall.
And also I think the BBC's got issues historically, and I think there's been a culture, and the wrong people have continuously been involved with the BBC. I'm sure if you put the right people in, it would be a completely different organisation. I just don't think in its current form and the way it's being ran it serves us at all.
Can I shift things ever so slightly? Because I'd like to...
That was a good little disagreement.
I'd like to talk about... It's more civil than some of the ones we've had. I mean, the crisp ones food, is just like that 100% where my mind went. I was like...
I care more about
when we're disagreeing about politics, it's like, do you know what? We can have a civil chat about this.
Well, look, because I actually
Food, I will fight. We will physically
I think the
scrap.
truth is politics isn't really that complicated, is it? It is just about people coming to a common understanding. Sometimes you're going to agree, sometimes you're not. We find a middle ground. Food, how it's very personal. It's something we deal with on a constant basis.
But I would like to shift things.
And some people are just weird.
Shifting slightly. I know you are, but we don't judge it too much. Shift things ever so slightly.
Yep.
The reason that we know that it's Hugh Edwards is because his wife made a statement saying the presenter accused, the person accused is Hugh. The reason she did that was because he had been checked into a mental health hospital. Now, I'm guessing, and this is speculation, I'm guessing that she figured as soon as he's in there, someone's going to find out, someone's going to put two and two together, and the story's going to break anyway. Yeah. I'd like to look at the fact that these hit jobs, and I'm calling them hit jobs, on people, the one thing the press don't care about is that they are...
the collateral damage.
People. You're a figure. No, they're people.
Yeah.
And like you said, in a just society, people are innocent until proven guilty. Yeah. But because of the way the press works, and because of like I said, they knew what they were doing. They knew the links that they were making, and it's guilty before, and they know their audience are guilty before innocent.
I think with all of these things, there's like scales of acceptance as well. There's certain crimes we're like, yeah, if you want to keep that private, it's fine. And then when it gets to certain ones, we're like, no, fuck that. We want to know who it was.
But I want to just read you something.
Okay.
We're pretty highbrow. But so this is a little extract from, and it's a wonderful book, and it's a wonderfully pertinent, topical book. If you've never read John Ronson's So You've Been Publicly Shamed.
Okay, I like John Ronson. He's a good egg. And
if you've never read it, do. It's wonderfully pertinent, and the whole thing is about how...
He's great on Joe Rogan, by the way.
Shame only really... his conclusion is kind of shame only works if you let it work. Yeah. If you turn around and if they go, haha, and, for example, all them MPs that are like,
I'm going to say something you're not going to like. The Boris Johnson motto.
Yeah, but it is, when they're like, MPs are like,
the shaggy mentality.
We know you like wearing bras, sleeping with hookers and doing cocaine. If they just come out and go, mate, good time's a good time, then the press kind of go...
That's what that MP should have done, or was he a lord? Who was the guy?
Keith Vaz, you mean? The one I'm talking
is that
about,
the
Keith
MP,
Vaz.
the guy, the older guy? No, there was like an old politician that was caught. There's photos of him in a bra, skirt.
Yeah, Keith Vaz, I'm pretty sure it's Keith Vaz.
Snorting coke with hookers.
Yeah, MP.
Absolute legend. He should have just come out and been like, just having a good fucking time.
Mate,
Get over yourself.
Don't be jealous.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have been taking cocaine, but the hookers, I feel
But if you come out and you go, yeah, you're right, I shouldn't. We're like, yeah, you shouldn't, you were wrong and whatever. But if you just go, yeah, mate, I had a good time, the press and the public don't really know how to react, and they're like, they might go for a little bit. Have you got no shame? And you go, no. And then it just kind of...
Before you read it, though, I don't know if it's necessarily the mindset we should be encouraging post-Boris Johnson.
No.
Not in the political sphere.
But...
Please, anyway, read on.
There was a chap called Ben Strong. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
It feels like a fairly simple name.
He's an English chef living in northern France, divorced, and he was a swinger.
Nice.
A man and a woman from the News of the World. Obviously, we know we're in good company here, but News of the World, remember, owned by the same people as, it's all in circles, yep. A man and a woman from the News of the World swam by his place. He gave them dinner, disappeared upstairs, and apparently came back down wearing nothing but a pouch. That was in June 1992. When Ben Strong discovered that the people looking at him weren't swingers, but News of the World journalists, he started to cry. He telephoned the paper's editor, Patsy Chapman. He said, "Please don't publish, because if you do, I'll never see my children again." They published anyway. They didn't give a damn. So he killed himself. Then there was Arnold Lewis in the spring of 1978. So again, this is all historical. This has just been the papers for the longest time. News of the World decided to infiltrate sex parties and caravans in the forests of mid Wales. The journalist Tina Dalgleish and her photographer Ian Cutler answered a small ad in a swingers magazine. It had been placed by a lay preacher, Arnold Lewis. They met in the local pub. The turnout was small. 5 people showed up, 3 of whom were Tina Dalgleish, Ian Cutler and Arnold Lewis. Arnold left a coded note for potential latecomers with an arrow pointing in the direction of the caravan and the exact walking distance, 3.8 miles. At the caravan, they drank sherry, ate biscuits, and an orgy occurred, which Ian Cutler and Tina Dalgleish witnessed but did not participate in. Then a few days later, Tina Dalgleish phoned Arnold to reveal her identity. Later, this is from an interview with Max Mosley, the paper mogul.
Okay.
So this is John Ronson speaking. Later, after I left Max, I managed to get Tina Dalglish's photographer Ian Cutler on the phone. He was recovering from a major stroke, but he did want to talk. He'd never stopped thinking about Arnold Lewis, he said. For 35 years it had plagued him. Arnold told Tina that if she published the story, he would kill himself. Ian said he was a preacher. Fucking hell, he was a preacher in a small Welsh village. The News of the World published and Arnold Lewis killed himself. He inhaled exhaust fumes and his body was found in the car the morning the story appeared. The headline read, "If you go down to the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise." This is not new. And the most famous incident, which I'd like to talk about, because I do think it's relevant, because we are seeing it happen again, is Caroline Flack.
Yeah.
Now, again, what Hugh Edwards allegedly did may be immoral.
Yeah.
What Caroline Flack did and was going through, and she was having a huge, horrendous time of it. She was having a bit of a breakdown and whatever. And what she did was allegedly illegal. I mean, she was...
Yeah, she was abusing her partner.
Yeah. But in the aftermath of her killing herself, every single journalist, paper, editor, all came out and said, we are ashamed and appalled and we will never let that happen again.
Yeah.
And here we are letting it happen again. There was also an incident of... It's so funny, I came across this by chance.
Yeah.
Well, not by chance. I kept seeing the name pop up and I was like, I don't know. So I Googled it. There was a woman in Wales, who was a teacher, who over the summer holidays or for a while had been transitioning.
Okay.
And had settled it with the head teacher and the teaching faculty and stuff that she was going to return this summer. This was the one she was going to return this term as a woman. The Daily Mail got hold of it, ran it as, look what's happening to our kids.
Mm.
And sure enough, because of the public pile-on, she killed herself. And the important thing to remember in that story, because some of the other stuff, and the reason I mention it is because some of the other stuff that I've mentioned there in the John Ronson book, these things were happening behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Arnold Lewis was swinging privately away. His friends and family didn't know. The other chap, the chef, again, it had been happening behind closed doors. Perhaps his friends and family didn't know. With this one, to the people that cared about Lucy, to the people she worked with, to the kids in the school, they did know. And they were more than happy and more than supporting. Yeah. There was maybe one, the way the story got out was one parent had a problem with it.
Okay.
They went to the school and said, this is ridiculous. And the teacher, the faculty basically said, look, you're more than welcome to take your child elsewhere, but it's the staff are fine with it. The kids are fine with it.
Yeah.
We're not gonna remove this member of staff. And so she went to the paper and whatever. But in that one, that was quite public.
Yeah.
Her transition was very public. The people that loved her knew about it. Then the papers got involved. And
we have
we're exactly where we are again with all these people they are persecuted and harassed. And like you said with the Hugh Edwards thing, at the moment, we don't actually know any of the facts.
No, we don't.
So you are harassing a man over it. It's Schrodinger's incident.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, maybe something happened. Maybe he did something horrendously seedy and immoral. Not illegal. I think we can safely rule that out now, given that 2 police investigations have been launched and have both turned up very quickly. No evidence of any wrongdoing. But at the same time, everything might have been perfectly happy and above board, and the only sort of immorality to it may have been that he was doing it behind his wife's back.
Or that, and if the accusations are true about threatening behaviour and stuff like that.
But like I said, it's kind of, it both is something and it isn't something.
Yeah.
But we are still harassing and piling on publicly to a human being that we have actually no idea whether they've done anything right or wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's a sliding scales with some of these things. Like, I don't know how much of a victim I see him as. Like, don't get me wrong, I have deep sympathy for him in terms of his mental health struggles, and they seem to be well documented long before any of this happened.
He released an article about it 2 years ago.
And he's been very vocal about it, so I don't doubt the sincerity of his struggles in any way whatsoever, and I've no doubt the stress of everything that's gone on has caused him to have some sort of, sadly, meltdown, and I hope he hasn't tried to do it. I don't wish the man any harm, even if it's true what he's accused of. I think the narrative of calling him a paedophile, despite what we do know that it doesn't involve anyone underage, is disgusting, because he's not. Look, there's arguments about morality and age difference and stuff like that. That's fine. You can have those discussions, but you can't call him a paedophile.
And yet that's the beauty of what the Sun have done.
He deserves to end up in the situation he has, in a mental hospital, in God knows what state. His family probably torn to pieces. I did find it interesting there was nothing in his wife's statement about his innocence, but that's that was just
but this is the other thing,
an observation.
Just to go off something you've touched upon there.
Yeah.
In all the incidents I've mentioned, which is 4 people, in all those incidences, never mind the 4 lives that have been lost, all their friends and families have had lives ruined, all for the sake of selling a few papers.
I think that's
all for the sake of shifting a few quid.
Where I land on it more is I don't know how sympathetic I feel towards him, because I don't know what he's done yet. Who I do feel for is his wife, his children, and anyone else who's been affected.
I'm sticking with the innocent until proven guilty.
I get that, but that I can't allow myself, because I guess it's like a sort of like guilty foresight, and like, in case he's guilty of something, I don't want to feel bad for him.
But isn't that part of the danger?
No, because
of the mindset you're sort of already distancing yourselves.
No, because I don't condemn him. I haven't said I think we should throw the book, like, investigate. I think the best way these things should be handled, particularly with high profile people, is handle it behind closed doors until we know the truth of what's happened. If the truth of what's happened is he's completely innocent of whatever he's been accused of, no one needs know, and it gets handled that way. If they're guilty, however, I think they should be publicly named and shamed, and we should know exactly what's been going on, so we can find out why it happened, how it happened, if there's anything we can do to avoid it in the future. But I like I said, I feel for him in terms of what he's going through with his mental health, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm not like sobbing for the guy sort of thing, if that makes sense.
Let me pose this question to you.
Yeah.
Let's say the person involved was underage.
Yes.
Let's say, basically, let's hypothetically say he's guilty of all of it. Like, the person involved is underage. That's illegal and immoral. He sent, the threats that he sent were incredibly vicious and incredibly worrying, and they scared the young person, even though the young person's lawyer has come out and said, nope, not a thing. But let's say that has happened. Let's say that all of that, even though he's a public figure, what business is it of ours knowing that? As long as the BBC as employer say, cut ties kind of thing,
disappear and never be seen or heard from again.
A little bit. I mean, that's what I'm asking. What business is ours to know any of these things? Not just with him, with any celebrity story.
It's the prevalence of
any celebrity story.
Celebrity stories you can make an argument about, but in terms of things that, like, it's the prevalence of these issues in our society that I think make it our business. Like, the fact how constant it is about an MP touching women up, or an MP abusing children, or a billionaire being a rapist. It's constant. It's everywhere. And I think because of that, yes, we have every right to know if there's a sexual abuser working at the BBC and being paid hundreds of thousands a year to do it.
But then
because we need to know how was he allowed
let
to
me
get away
compromise
with it for so
you on
long.
that then. Let me offer a compromising counterpoint. Perhaps maybe we should only know about it when all the facts are known.
That's what I said. I said in the bit I said
No,
before.
I know.
That I think the way it should be handled are these things are handled behind closed doors. Once we know the truth and what happened, publicly named. If they're innocent, we go about our business. We don't need to know. He's not guilty of anything. If he is guilty, then we need to know.
But then equally, again, just to play devil's advocate, I'm not saying I believe it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Again, if he's guilty, and we say, yep, name, shame him, and let's look into how it happened, because he's done all those things wrong.
What about his family?
Does his family deserve to be so publicly dragged?
The phrase that came into my head sounds very glib and unfair. It's more or less them's the breaks. You got unlucky. Your dad was a nonce, or your dad was a rapist, or whatever their crime might have been. Do you know what I mean? It's not your fault. And if most decent, we shouldn't. Like the message should be, don't abuse his family. It's not their fault. Do you know what I mean?
But that's not how it works, is it? Once it goes out into the public like that, that is what happens. Their lives are ruined.
Yes.
We're not dealing with ideals. We're dealing with a real world scenario.
I get that, but I don't know what else we do. I don't think saying they get to just...
Don't publicly drag people, particularly when you don't have all the facts. I mean, I know that part we agree on. I know that part we agree on.
But like, the problem is otherwise, if we don't know about it, we get what we've already had, which is there being a level of acceptance, people being comfortable. Like, look at our police force, how comfortable. Like, the thing is, for so much to be so rotten in an organisation, to the core of which it is, everyone's involved. Whether it's being complicit or...
We are having I feel like I'm very happy with having a debate like this.
Yeah.
It does feel like
it's very amicable. It's very respectful. Fuck you. Where is it? I'm going to keep saying where is it till I find it.
Get stuffed.
I hear that's what happens in bed with Leanne most nights. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I'm going to keep saying it till I find it. Where is it?
Get stuffed. Oh no, that's my lady.
Such a sidetrack.
It is. But yeah, I think I think we've agreed on a reasonable amount. I think we disagree on sort of maybe finer details of the situation. But I think in general we agree with these sort of things. Until we know the truth of what's going on, it shouldn't be out in the public, because we know it does. It ruins people's reputations. There was someone named in parliamentary privilege years ago, wasn't there? I can't remember who named them, but there was someone accused of a horrendous crime. An MP names them in Parliament, and the person, they died of cancer not long afterwards, and it turned out it was completely false.
Oh right, yeah, but then the damage has been done.
The damage has been done. So no, I think we're 100%
I will say as well,
on
just a tiny little offshoot, and I will bring it back round to being relevant again. Have you seen the story broken by the newspaper today or yesterday about Nadine Dorries?
What, being asked to put on the...
Being asked to put on Liz Truss's.
Yeah, I had it on my notes as needy Nadine.
Yeah, and they were like, "Yeah, she's already sent it, and you're not on it."
Yeah.
But Nadine Boris Johnson.
She still hasn't resigned, is there? We should have a section called Nadine Watch.
Yes, we should get like a little jingle made up.
Yeah. Oh, mate,
like
we haven't even got a new intro.
But just a little like dun dun dun, Nadine Watch. Still there, and then end it.
Nadine News.
Nadine News, yeah.
News Nadine? No, not News.
We'll watch it. Just Nadine Watch.
Nadine Watch, okay. We landed it on the first try.
Cycling back around, Boris. And just to take it back to what I said earlier, I think people are interested because they're being shown it.
Yeah.
Let's look at the fact that a little while ago, it was big news and people were talking about the fact that phones had gone missing in the COVID inquiry and Boris Johnson's phone was at the bottom of a lake. But now...
Before we get into the weeds of it, can I ask you a question in regards to this? Do you think this is a distraction tactic?
I think I don't know whether it's a deliberate distraction tactic, but I certainly
and I
think
don't
it's...
mean from Rishi Sunak, because that's a weird angle.
No.
I've heard some reporters saying, do you think Rishi's in control?
But I do think...
No, I don't.
I do think they're playing full advantage of what's happening. A more damage done to the BBC, and B, a distraction from the fact that let's mention this. So we're not being told about. We're being told about Hugh Edwards and things that may or may not have happened.
In the last week, we've had the Boris... so he basically got ordered by the High Court to hand over unredacted notebooks, diaries and his old WhatsApp messages, because apparently he only gave them up until basically the first messages they received were ones from like a year and a half into the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
So they were like, well, no, we actually need the relevant shit. So from before it started to like the thick of it.
From like November 2019, when there was rumblings of a virus.
Yeah. And they gave him till a certain date. I think it was last Monday, and he didn't hand any of it over, and that's just
now
gone
he's
very much
saying
under the radar.
That he can't remember his passcode on his phone.
Yeah, and if he entered, like there was some sort of rumour about if he enters it too many times, it will erase everything on the phone.
And I saw someone saying,
I mean, come on, surely we have tech I
think
bypass
one comedian did say, "Oh, it's probably one of the names of his kids, but you obviously only get 10 goes."
What was the one where it got lost in the Black Sea and destroyed at the same time? They were like, "Oh, I broke it or lost it."
Yeah,
Oh,
that was a phone. That was a phone. That's what I'm saying. When that broke, we were being told about it, and it was news, and we were going, "Oh yeah, that's scandalous." But now he's forgotten his passcode. Yeah. A man who will happily drop Latin fucking preachy stories into the middle of random speeches, who can recall, all this hyperbolous crap, but can't remember a 4 or 6 digit code to get into a phone that he would have used every day for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
It's just utter nonsense.
And look, most people use the same code for every phone, don't they? Do you switch yours? I don't think I've ever changed my phone code.
I have done.
No, I've never. I've had the same phone code.
Boris uses the same one. Definitely Boris uses the same one.
100% Boris uses the same one.
Boris, I wouldn't be surprised if Boris was either password 123 for everything.
I think there's a lot of similarities between Boris and Big Daddy Big. Do you know what I mean?
I'd be careful with that comparison, my man. Sleeps around. I think you've got that ticked.
Big dick energy.
Other than that, I think that's where the comparison maybe ends. Plays by his own rules. Sleeps around and plays by his own rules are pretty much the only conclusions that can be drawn. Then
slaps the arse of his secretary. I don't even have one.
No, you don't need one.
No. Coke off every surface.
Things come to Big Daddy Big.
Yeah.
Things just work out for Big Daddy Big.
Yeah. They do. Just like Boris.
Until it doesn't. Boris. Boris's password is definitely for me either password 123 on all of his devices, or it's something really that he thinks is really highbrow, some kind of classics Archimedes quote or something,
Yeah. See, I don't think any of this is under Rishi's control, but I think it's like good for him only in the sense of no one's talking about the fact he's basically failing at everything he promised when he became Prime Minister.
And we're not hearing about it.
No, and he's had an awkward summit with Joe Biden that didn't get talked about, where like he unveiled the new China at Downing Street to Joe Biden. It was one of the most awkward. It was like he was talking to his senile granddad that like didn't understand English, and he was like, "Oh, new China," and Rishi was like, "Yeah, look at our new China." It's just, it's awkward as fuck.
I don't imagine Rishi has ever done anything not awkwardly. Can you imagine him having sex?
Especially considering like when he became Prime Minister, Joe Biden called him like Rishi Sunak or something like that, didn't he? He called him the wrong
Rishi Sunak is definitely the bloke, the pro-evolution version of Rishi Sunak.
Yeah.
Imagine him having sex. I bet that's really awkward.
I can't.
With his big
There's certain people you look at them like I can't imagine their penis works. Do you know what I mean? I just see them as like a flaccid human.
He's got enough money, probably just hires someone else to fuck his wife.
That's the thing, like, he probably does get laid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's probably laying pipe.
Real shame.
Yeah. It's not what our forefathers fought for.
No, well.
To get Rishi laid.
No.
And for him to be running things.
Yeah, that's definitely not what they fought for, I think. No. But that's deeper problems.
They might be facing 6 by-election defeats, though. I mean, it's almost certain the polling
they probably will.
I mean, it's 5 currently because Nadine hasn't actually resigned yet, but when she does...
Honestly, please, can we start doing the Dean Watch?
We're going to have to. Whatever we're talking about
I
in the
will find a
episode,
little jingle.
we'll set aside a little moment.
I need to go online and find a little jingle somewhere and just
pick it for Nadine Watch.
just pick it for Nadine Watch. And we will just literally, it will go like...
And even when she has resigned, we're going to do a segment every now and again where we've checked up on Nadine to find out what she's up
doing.
to.
Yeah, we're just going to...
We're just going to keep you updated.
But for the next few weeks, I think for the next few episodes, it should just be dun, 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 Nadine Watch, still there. Dun, dun, dun. And then we just carry on with the podcast.
Just no context, Nadine Watch.
Absolutely no context at all. We just randomly jump into it.
We could be talking about anal as quite...
We often do. It comes up a lot.
Really
Bumholes feature regularly in our podcast.
There's just so much going on down there.
They're well explored.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say the one thing about CrossingSwords bumholes,
they're always explored.
They're like the complete opposite.
We're very much like Dora.
They're the
about exploring.
Complete opposite of the Mariana Trench. We know quite a lot about them.
What's the Mariana Trench?
It's like the deepest trench in the ocean.
Oh wow!
And because it's so deep,
we just don't know.
We have nothing that can even withstand the pressure down at the lower end of it. So we don't. There's all
we
kinds of life down there
idea.
that we don't know.
There could be Atlantis, bro.
But our arseholes are like the complete opposite of that. You think Atlantis in the Sahara?
I've seen compelling evidence.
Is it a guy on YouTube?
Yes.
He made sense. He made sense.
He had evidence. No, look, genuinely, it was interesting to listen to.
I don't think you can... okay, I was going to say, I don't think you can start...
I wouldn't say I genuinely believe Atlantis was in the Sahara, but there is evidence to say that it could have. All right? That's all I'm going to... That's as far as I'll be pushed on it.
Is it aliens?
I'm not saying it was aliens, but,
Thank you.
It was aliens. But I do, like random tangent, believe that there was something going on last ice age.
You think that was kind of Atlantis?
I don't know whether you would call it Atlantis, but I think we were more advanced than they believe we were. Like there's a lot of evidence in terms of things like writing not existing before a certain time.
Well, I think the real shame of the Alexandrian palace burning down, library burning down, but also
lost.
During the Crusades, particularly the Spanish Crusades,
the amount of burning,
entire civilizations were just wiped out. So all the knowledge that they'd acquired, all the things just
and
gone.
There was a Christian priest that burnt 10,000 books in South America, and they were one of the most advanced civilizations up until that point, and all of their knowledge.
So there's definitely an entire stuff. There's so much stuff we don't know.
There's been examples found in the Amazon of cities that could have held millions of people. So like there's stuff we just haven't explored enough of the planet. There's a lot of stuff we don't know. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Well, not without exploring and piecing stuff together.
But yeah, that's not anything to do with anything, really.
No, but it's something I'm very much into at the moment.
Is that your kind of latest hobby?
I wouldn't say it's a hobby.
Are you rabbit holing a bit right now?
Well, a little bit. I've watched videos on machine marks on ancient objects.
Tell me now, in 2 or 3 weeks' time, are you going to sit there and tell me that the Earth is definitely flat?
No. No, I'm not that tin for hat. No, I've genuinely watched stuff like there's just randomly for a second. Let me bore you and the listeners. There's a XIT exec, and he's like incredibly intelligent. His name's Ben Van Kerkwick, and he has a
great name
YouTube page. And he looks like the way he looks. He has a ponytail, goatee. It's not
We've all been there.
It is what it is.
We've all been there.
But incredibly intelligent, very interesting to listen to. And there's been work done on ancient objects. Like there's this old vase, and it's a carving. It's not pottery, and its level of precision is impossible by hand even today. Like there's stuff like that, and there's things with.
I don't doubt that they wouldn't have created some kind of, not digital but analog tech to help them with all kinds of stuff.
There's evidence of sort of a rediscovering of technology going on at the moment as well.
I would say if there's one thing that breeds innovation more than anything, it's human laziness. So if there's a way to do something
to be honest
quicker and easier, we'll find it.
Of a more sophisticated society. And like one of the big issues when you talk about this is everyone assumes if you say advanced civilization, we picture flying cars and things like that. That's not We're talking about like an advanced civilization would be like a sea.
You could run a YouTube channel.
A seafarer. I've listened to
you
so much
could
of
run
this stuff.
a YouTube channel
Absolutely,
talking
the
about
amount
this
of stuff I've listened to. But there's just evidence in things like we didn't discover.
Turn to the camera and do it to the camera. Just quickly say that again about like when you think about advanced civilizations, but that's not what we're talking about. Do that bit to the camera with like the hand gestures and everything that you did.
When we're talking about ancient civilizations, we're not talking about flying cars or anything like that. We're talking about seafaring nations, ones that are capable of exploring the globe. Because the thing is, we didn't discover navigation properly, like longitude and latitude, until the mid 1800s. Like there was actually £1 million prize up on offer, which at the time was like serious. Well, I mean, it still is, but like back then, to figure out longitude, it was still a mystery we hadn't discovered. But yet there's older maps that we still have, like one called the Piri-Reis map, where we have Antarctica on it. Now, we didn't discover Antarctica until, well, not really that long ago, but yet it's on a map perfectly mapped out along with most of the known world.
Well, the penguins knew where it was.
Before we had claimed to have discovered most of the known world. So there's all sorts of things. So yeah, that's my little...
I can't wait to watch that back on YouTube. What's the timestamp on that?
It's about the 58-minute mark.
I can't wait to watch that back on YouTube and see you turn to the camera and just get like a glimpse into your future career.
Yeah, honestly, I'd love it if I ended up working in, as it's being called by the mainstream, pseudo-archaeology. I wouldn't mind.
Would you go like...
The thing is, though, the level of detail
full
is
Indiana?
Ridiculous. Oh,
little hat, little bullwhip. Well, I know you've got the whip.
The thing is getting a hat that fits my head.
Yeah, and I don't think...
Real people. And I'm also just not as good looking as Harrison Ford. I feel like you've got to look like Harrison Ford.
I don't think Leanne would be happy if you took the whip out of the bedroom.
I can't comment. I'm not claiming that there is a whip in my bedroom, but I'm not saying there isn't one either. I'm not being drawn on that subject.
Excellent, bringing it back round to the media there, because the press would
I've
have run with it.
I've been media trained. You can tell if you've learned anything listening to this.
I love this new wave,
years.
by the way, of I know this is really tangential, but athletes that are coming through that have not been media trained, to just give like these precise, robotic, just got so much personality coming through, and they're just saying what they, and they're just saying what they want to say,
just speaking their truth.
I'm a big fan of it,
and we're all about speaking your truth. I think if there's anything people have learned from listening to this podcast, it's about speaking your truth.
Do things your own way.
Yeah.
Just as long as they're not
stick to the laws.
Dodgy.
Yeah.
Well, again, I don't want to repeat what I said last week, but I'll follow the laws that I feel like are worth following.
I think my overarching message from this episode to anyone is stop fucking our children. To all these nonsense out there.
Again, weird how often it comes back to that.
Yeah. Well, exactly. That's the problem in this society. We need to solve it.
I don't know what the thing, like, is it a power thing? Because
I don't know. I said to my sister, it feels like you get to a certain level of success and power and they just go, well, you've either got to abuse women or children. Pick one.
Yeah, because they're seen as lesser and easier to abuse.
I think it's a power thing.
Yeah, because they're easier to have power over, right?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
In theory. I'm not saying that's
well, they tend to target people that are either vulnerable, don't have support systems. One of the common denominators, if you ever look into it, the predilection for priests and children and all of that, there is a very visible pattern of children without a dad or without a mum. Like there's always like someone's an alcoholic or the support system isn't there, they're vulnerable. They're from a working class background, which means there's normally more of a shame attached to these things when they happen, so they're less likely to speak. So there's all sorts of visible things that these predators look for.
Yeah.
Scumbags.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But not as big as scumbags, in my opinion.
As the sun.
Well,
I mean, I think I hate both of them. I think I hate predators and I hate the sun and the male and all them.
I don't like any, the people are scum and I'm not doubting that, but the son and the male and the...
It's a murky way to do
They breed
business.
on hate. They're hate mongerers. They just want to whip you. They want to rile up anger and
this
point
is where
you.
the conspiracy shit comes
Point
in.
you at
For
people.
me, in that situation, I'm like, they'd far rather keep us arguing and fighting over whether someone's a paedophile or not, or actually looking at what's going on in our country and demanding things actually change. The longer they can keep us arguing about this, the less likely we are to go like,
yeah, the longer
isn't
they can,
it fucked up Boris Johnson isn't in jail?
the longer they can
and
have
he's
us
having a
arguing
pool
about,
built in his £4 million house.
yeah, the longer they keep us arguing about gendered toilets.
And he was earning 150 grand a year as Prime Minister. How does that check out?
Oh, the longer they can, and the beautiful thing is when stuff like that breaks, or not just stuff like when society breaks, when we're looking at but we're looking at huge inflation, huge mortgage prices, huge, people in our generation, like a lot of them will never own a home.
No.
Which is an interesting thing. I mean, I read an article recently which talked about how it's very interesting that older people, like the generation above us, and that can't relate to us because our aspirations are so vastly different to them.
Yeah.
The aspirations are always the same.
Vastly inferior.
You grow up, you get a house, you get capital, you have a family. But we don't have the possibility of that capital for a lot of us. So our aspirations are so different, and they can't.
No, they just see us as lazy.
So it did make a very interesting read, and I wish I could remember who wrote it and what publication it was in, so that I could tell you all to go and check it out. But what were we talking about? Oh, the sun. Yeah, but all while society's breaking and we're all paying way more and we're not getting paid as much and all that stuff, they get to say, "Yeah, do you know what? Bloody immigrants' fault, isn't it?" Yeah. You're like, sorry, what? Do you mean the people that are going to come in and do the jobs that we don't? Yeah. That are going to actually...
And like the amount of vacancies or the jobs that were vacated as soon as Brexit happened. Because people no longer felt welcome.
Yeah. I mean, the hospitality sector,
and all the
care
Conservatives
sector
have to say in response to that as well, we've got more people working in the NHS than ever before. And it's like, oh, okay, so we're fine.
The care sector and the hospitality sector and obviously the haulage sector have probably suffered the most out of those the new rules. Out of our racism, basically, our xenophobia.
Better.
Yeah, welcome to Britain. Honestly, the biggest, I just fucking giving Murdoch as much as he got.
Yeah. The fact that man's allowed to walk freely.
The fact that you've got to befriend him to get into power.
Yeah. Well, Keir Starmer had to go to that party, didn't he? And to be honest with you, when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, of course. That's what you have to do.
I've seen Gordon Brown talking about it when him and Blair first came in, New Labour and all that. And it's a really interesting documentary. It's on the BBC. So, you're talking about that. Name is. I think it was just called like New Labour, Blair and Brown. It might have been called Blair and Brown.
No, look, I don't think everything
but he was
BBC
talking about
does is shit.
But he was talking about
I like MasterChef, I like Dragon's
Den. But he was saying he remembers feeling really odd and uncomfortable because they genuinely were like New Labour and we're the thing, we're like this.
Stood for.
But then they realised that to actually make a difference in the country, they had to get in power, and to get in power, they had to get the papers on side, and that involved swanning around with. And so he was always like, I was always more than happy to let Tony do it. Because he was much better at it and he was much more comfortable with that side of life.
What we know is that Tony Blair's not afraid to sell himself.
But it's an interesting thing. But yeah, I don't like that how much power he holds.
No. But sadly,
and I think what's happening now to Hugh,
going to change anytime soon.
Whether Hugh is guilty or not, and at this point we have no idea. But what's happening to him or not is completely wrong. And I think it sums up a lot of what's wrong in this country at the moment, and historically, what's been wrong.
Yeah. And I think my only caveat would be, I think the wider issue of what's going on in our society in terms of people in power needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
And I actually remember one of the last things is years ago. Do you remember Russell Brand used to have a thing called The Truths?
Yeah.
The last video he ever did about it was, and that was a conspiracy for a bit because after this video he just disappeared for a year and didn't come back and then came back as more enlightened and the sort of person he is now. And he did a video where there was a news story about David Cameron at the time had kicked a report down the road by like 75 years. And it was a report into the child paedophile ring within Westminster and the cover-ups that had been going on and the people involved. And it was due to come out for release. And David Cameron was like, no, and vetoed it. And it's been kicked down for generations away. So there's just... and he actually said in the end of the video, like, stop fucking our children, and naming and shaming people, and just stop doing it after that. But I just think it's something woven into our society, sadly. I think it's far more prevalent than we even realise.
If there's one thing power wants,
it's in sport, it's in politics, it's in entertainment, it's in every facet of our society. Even at the lower levels, there's working class people that abuse people. It's at every level.
well, if there's one thing power wants, it's more power.
Yeah.
Or to look at it a different way, if there's one thing power wants, it's to not lose power. And these people will go to incredible lengths to do it, to keep it.
But yeah, no, I've enjoyed this episode. I think it's probably one of our most healthy debates. And like no egginess, no.
I held it all back. I mean, the hate I looked at you with at some point. Oh, in true British fashion, you will receive such a passive aggressive week
maybe
of
just
texting.
like a thumbs down.
Oh, just you're gonna get so. I'm gonna be like, oh, are you sure we want to do that, or are you not? You're gonna get all of that this week. Get an outpouring.
I look forward to it.
But that's how I got my citizenship, baby. That's how I got my.
Yeah.
That's how I got my passport.
That's how we all did it. There's a test when we hit 10. Just, are you going to be allowed to stay in this country or not?
Little sarcasm test.
Yeah. Have you got what it takes?
How do you say water?
Water.
Yep. Sorry, you pronounce the T. Get over there, posh boy.
Water? No one says water. Scumbags.
Not in this country.
No.
Water.
We send them to Cambridge.
Yeah, and then they get into office and rob us for every penny we've got.
But yeah, guys, we would love to know. Also, just thank you for all the likes, all the views. It's all been amazing. Please continue to
TikTok,
do
baby, we're coming for you.
We are.
Hi, China.
We're getting big.
Do you think China would like that if I said hi, China?
I don't think we're going to get views on Chinese TikTok.
Yeah, but somewhere, some agent is rifling through it, isn't he?
Some agent. What, someone in China's moderating?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how it works.
You think it's all AI?
Yeah. I don't think they've got just hundreds of thousands of people just
But if we say
TikTok.
the phrase, let's bomb China, AI will flag it and someone's got to watch it.
Only in the sense of how quickly do we assassinate them.
So I would say to my agent, ni hao.
Is that hello?
Yeah. Ni hao ma is like...
Ni hao ma.
It's like, hello, how are you, I think.
Is that? It feels racially insensitive just saying Chinese words, doesn't it?
I'm like...
Ni hao ma. Like, I'm not trying to put on an accent, but it sounds like I've got an accent.
They call me Mr. Rosetta Stone.
Do they?
Yeah, I'm
Greek.
I'm Greek. Oh, yeah, Kalinikta, Kalimera.
Kalispera. Afghanistan. Parakalo. Pushti
Tona
Malaka.
Kareasma Parakalo.
Pushti Malaka.
Pushti Malaka. I bet you would like to Pushti Malaka. Pushti Malaka.
I don't think you know what Pushti Malaka means.
No, I don't.
Gay wanker.
Yeah, well, sorry, I only learnt proper Greek.
Well, we got to know the locals, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it sounds like.
Yeah.
I've seen the brothel houses you were in, the
Yeah.
bath houses.
It's got to be done. When in Rome,
Yeah, but what about when you're in Athens?
you go to the park.
You go to the gay
my
wankers.
balls on the pillars.
You go to the gay wankers. You can't get anywhere near them.
Oh, mate.
Big Daddy, Big Can. Big, yeah, I have.
They're always near.
I have. I'm waiting for the story. I'm waiting for the story to break that I'm subscribed to your OnlyFans.
Yeah, I just snuck into your house, got your card, subscribed to you, set you up. Do you know what I mean?
Imagine if you did that, like just robbed your friends, but rather than robbing them, just taking money out of that, you
Subscribe
just
to
sign
them.
up to your stuff.
If I'll set up a Patreon for the pod and just sign everyone we know up.
Yeah, and it will look great, and we'll look like we've got loads of numbers,
Yeah,
and they're all technically us.
yeah, that's our version
We'll
of
play the
credit
system.
card fraud.
We'll play the system. And do you know what? If anyone's been listening to the podcast from the beginning, they'll know that I'm not averse to a bit of fraud.
No, you have said you just pick and choose what laws you want to follow recently. And that was, I think, an episode after something really terrible.
In terms of laws broken, I would say my top two, in terms of frequency of breaking them,
yeah,
are definitely fraud and speed limit.
okay,
Are definitely my top two.
yeah,
Do you know the law you break the most?
yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I know it. You can say it, or you don't want to say it. You don't want to put it out there.
I'm not putting that out there. I mean, it's something that I would. Unless
Asian agent.
Unless I did it in front
Asian
of a
agent.
policeman, it's unlikely I'd get in
So
trouble.
sorry,
but I'm not-
the Chinese agent is
that
not
would
going
be
to rag on
doxing
us.
myself, wouldn't it?
Well, only if you told him where you lived.
In my mum's living room. That's where I am right now.
Yeah, but you're not doing anything illegal now.
Or am I? Just stroking one out.
Impressive.
Yep.
Impressive. I didn't think it'd cover the whole length of the dining table, but my God, man.
Yeah, it's impressive.
I can see why you need the extension in.
Always. It's the only way I know how. But guys, let us know what you thought of the discussion, whether you agree, disagree. We always want your suggestions, your ideas, your love, your support, your adoration,
We
your
told you at the
intimidation.
We told you at the top.
And we're all about shaking babies, cutting hands, you know.
We told you at the top.
We're snipping and clipping.
Stroke our stomach, stroke our egos, stroke our other things.
Yeah.
We want you to stroke our
stroke
egos.
My other things
We want
I
you.
have a missus,
We want you to stroke our
Jake's
egos.
things.
Stroke all my things.
Stroke all of his things.
Explore my arse like in a Mariana Trench.
I've heard rumours.
It's just 'cause I get a lot of scientists down there.
Yeah, I can believe
They
it.
go down in groups.
Where can the people tell us about them wanting to explore your Mariana Trench?
It's so wonderful that you're being educated here on this podcast.
Was it
And
racially
that you're
insensitive
so
for me
open
say
to it.
mariachi?
Only if they go down with maracas.
I absolutely would. I dance.
Imagine that if you're going on like a wonderful expedition, and they're like, "Look, it's quite weight sensitive, so we're just gonna have to check your luggage." And they're like, "Fucking maracas, bring your maracas in your bag, please."
You never know when you're gonna need them. Antarctica just
morale.
Yeah, every now and again, people just need to hear maraca. You'd be amazed how often it works. And then you're stranded on this trip, and you know you're close
Some
to death.
dickhead's
You've all
got
run out of
maracas, yeah.
food and water. You know, the guy who was sceptical of the maracas being there is just, you know, he's facing the inevitability of death, and you just come over with your maracas. He's going to lift his spirits.
Something's going to happen.
But tell the people where they can tell us about their explorations, Jake.
They can tell us on Twitter @SwordsCrossing, on Instagram and TikTok on @CrossingSwords_podcast,
Yep.
on Facebook just at Crossing Swords. You can email us crossingswords19@gmail.com. That is the word crossing, the word swords, and then the numbers 1 and 9 followed by @gmail.com.
Yeah.
Yeet. No one says that anymore. I think we're the only person that says that anymore.
Yeah,
Are there any
yeah.
other socials I've missed? YouTube. We're on YouTube.
Yeah, we are.
Links
on
to
YouTube
links in the description.
of every episode.
Every episode.
Maybe
Every
not some of the original
episode.
ones because we didn't have it on YouTube at that point, but definitely from at least some point. We put
Solidly
links in.
covered. Much
Yeah.
like the sun, we've really skirted around the legal
Look, if
loopholes
there's
of being
again anything
putting
we've
anything
taught
too
the
factually
people over
inaccurate.
the last 4 years doing this podcast is that our journalistic integrity can never be questioned.
Not legally.
No.
Amen to that,
God, I
brother.
hope people don't go back through things. Love ya.
Bye.